Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I think it's going to be a short video this week. I'm not really in the right headspace to be doing this. There's other stuff going on. Anyway, let's get into it. Minor Arcana, issue 2. My one comment really is that it doesn't do a great job of sort of getting you back into where the previous issue left off. So our lead here, winds up in issue 1. It ends with her doing a reading, and we jump back to that about halfway through this. It's kind of a crystal ball tarot thing going on when I say reading. And she winds up in this weird space that I'm not going to call a dream sequence, because I don't think that's what it is. But so she winds up here, and then she comes out of it, and in, I'm going to say, typical Lemire fashion, and then here we go, right? So we wind up back here, and initially I'm like, oh yeah, she was in this like empty building thing, and then she meets this guy, and so trying to remember who he was from a month ago was I struggled with for a second, and then I got it. Anyway, so it continues, and then there's some family drama, and then the issue ends, and all of it was great and interesting, and I'm looking forward to more, and there's trouble on the way, foreshadowing. Here's what I found most interesting, though. There's an ad at the back of the book, and it says, long-form series to be collected in 4 deluxe hardcovers. So, to my knowledge, this has only ever been mentioned as an ongoing. This, I don't know what deluxe in this case means, whether that's, probably not 4-issue arcs, so like 6, 8, 12 potentially. This series, I would say, is going to run up to 48 issues. You can see here, I think this is her father, and that's definitely the mother, and I don't know if we've seen him or not, so I'm intrigued, but it looks like we might have a different main character per arc, unless I'm just reading too much into what is effectively an ad for the series I'm already reading. Whatever, I'm into it. I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's very good. Up next, just move this a bit. Lady Mechanika, issue 2. This is the miniseries Devil in the Lake, and it always kind of surprises me. Joe Benitez is an incredible artist himself, and he usually gets similarly talented artists, and just by the amount of words that fill the story pages. So this actually is a dream sequence. Yeah, I'm going to call that a dream sequence, because she's knocked out at the time, and having some cool stuff like this going on. But a lot of this is a story. It's it's not quite world building. It's a lot of historical fiction of a magical Russia, and similarities with reality. Anyway, we come back to this guy, if you remember him from previous volumes, and this does do an effective job of reminding the audience why he is not with Lady Mechanika anymore. So, I'm just bringing it up. Some books do a better job of reminding readers than others. Anyway, the art's gorgeous. The story is progressing. Again, just a huge, staggering number of words. I found this interesting too. There are 2 languages being spoken here, and one of them has double brackets. I can't find an example now. Maybe it was before. Maybe it was the other. Maybe it was in the cave. What's weird about this sequence, though, is they both seem to... So this is the homeowner, this woman by the fire here, and so she's speaking English, she's speaking Russian, he's supposed to be the translator, but they both seem to be able to understand each other, just not talk in the other's language. So, like, I don't know. It's a little weird. I'm probably thinking about it too much, but I found it odd. Anyway, It's good. Looks great. I'm into it. I heard Skull Crusher issue 6. I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to continue the series or not. The first 5 I thoroughly enjoyed, but I thought the pacing was kind of faster than I wanted it to be. I kept making references to this is essentially American manga, and manga would have done this story over a much larger page count, and so I'm like, I don't know, and I never made a decision, and so issue 6 wound up in my poll this week, and it's honestly great. I don't have the same issue, at least initially, so far, that I think this is faster paced than it needs to be. So far, some incredible art. Really need to pay attention to this artist going forward. Gorgeous stuff. Anyway, this, at least so far, is happening at a pace that makes sense, that I'm perfectly happy with. But at the end of the previous arc, these two, her team won the tournament, and every team member wound up somewhere else. So the team has been broken up. She winds up on a team with her idol. Her idol is kind of a dick, and repercussions. So it's great. Honestly, I'm not going to say it's a great jumping on point, but it is a great start, sort of a reset for the series that has happened so far. Public Domain, issue 9. I don't know if this is about to be the end of an arc. If 10, I didn't read the solicits, so this might be going on the hiatus again soon. Completely unsure. But if you can't tell from here, they are at a comic convention. It's great. They're at a comic convention, and it's super interesting as far as, like, I don't know. Maybe I say too many things are interesting. But they go to a comic convention, and so are the other comic creators, and there's this hilarious scene between these two guys. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's stuff going on with her and her mother. This, I found this interesting too. They decided to, instead of brackets, do a double border for when a different language was being spoken. I don't think I've seen that before. I picked it up, what was happening, but it's good shit. I picked up what was happening, but it, yeah, I just don't think I've ever seen that before. And what there's a reveal at the end of this, and it's right here. And then I said, because, wow, just, it's, if you know, you know, and if you don't, please read Public Domain, because it's great. It's super, it's a comedic, satirical, idealistic as well way of looking at the comic industry, comic creators, and I'm extremely entertained. It's great. Huge recommendation. Transformers 13, there was a lot of discussion about this and where things were going. Jason Howard on art. It's a 2-issue arc, and it's a flashback sequence with Starscream. I will praise the art because I enjoy Jason Howard. There's a particular sequence here. I mean, I think he draws a great Jetfire. This guy, it took me, I was calling him by the wrong name for half the issue because they say his name, and I think I was using an M instead of a V just because of the font, and now I can't find it. Anyway, this sequence, holy that took my breath away when I flipped to that. The rest of this I don't really care for. It's kind of early war stuff, and it doesn't talk about the war at all. So it's focusing solely on Starscream. He wants to sit it out. He doesn't want to get involved, but his friend is involved, and he gets pulled into it by association. And so he winds up joining the war because something happens to his friend, but like there's nothing establishing what the war's about or what's happening in the greater world. It's just like, here's this guy that isn't interested in the war, and then kind of this happens, and then he's suddenly involved in the war, and like I don't know. I think a lot of the early war stuff is important, at least for me, in understanding, like, is it believable for these sides to be fighting for millions of years? And what the war is about is not established here at all. It's just Starscream getting into it, and his name is not yet Starscream, and by the end of this, it is, and I thought that was dumb. And I think something else is dumb, and there's some stuff that's happening in the present, and we see Starscream meet Megatron for the first time, and he mass shifts down into a gun, which is also a tank. I thought it was the dumbest thing. So no, the art's nice, and I do not enjoy this story whatsoever. Sanction issue 5, this is the end of the miniseries, and it is well done. A lot of this is tense moments between our two leads. So this guy realizes what's happening, and it's a high-ranking member in the government that has been, spoilers, I guess, ordering a bunch of people killed, right? So our one guy, who is, I don't know how to describe him. He's short-sighted, I would probably say, as far as what's going on in the government. And here's our other guy, who's already wearing gloves, although I don't like the way that hand is holding the glass. It just looks like, it almost looks like he's got mittens and he's just pushing it up against his chest. Anyway, we wind up with this here, and so most of this issue is a conversation happening between three characters, and they're deciding sort of what they're going to do about the situation, about what all of them know and how that's going to affect their lives going forward. And it's well done. It is a great end to the series. If you are at all interested, grab the trade whenever this comes out. But I am very satisfied with the way that this series ended. Can't really say the same thing about the way Scarlett ends, because it's more like a to be continued question mark. The whole series gets some characters into a position, and it gives them an item, and then just sort of ends. And it doesn't really conclude anything that it started, other than a mission that's been going on for, I want to say, the last 2 issues? Issue and a half, at least. So, I don't know. I have no idea. Cobra shows up, and Cobra is fully Cobra at this point. I have not been reading Destro, so I don't know what's happening in that book, where things have progressed as far as Destro and Cobra Commander there. But, I don't know. It's effectively a non-ending. And so whether or not Kelly Thompson or Scarlett continue in some form, I don't know. I would probably give it a shot and see how it starts, but probably not getting the trade on this one. Autumn Kingdom issue 2. This is a 4-issue series, so by the end of this, it's halfway through, and I was informed issue 2 is not as good as issue 1, and I think I disagree. I think it's every bit as good as issue 1. We get a bunch of stuff happening in parallel, so we get stuff happening, I'd say, with in the real world with the sisters and them trying to get their parents back, and also a bunch of stuff. It's almost like the pirate subplot happening in the fictional world, as I said, in parallel. And I have to go back to the first issue to see if there was a relationship between two characters in the fantasy world as well. So they wind up at this house, and one of them, thankfully, is skeptical, because I know I was. And there's an odd bit with the weight of the sword, so it's heavier here, and it is lighter a bit later in the book, and I think she has an idea. Oops, off camera. I think she has an idea of why that is, and I think I have an idea as well, but it hasn't yet been fully explained, but that's fine. There's still 2 issues to go. So there is fighting in sword usage, and I think it's great. Thoroughly enjoying it. Absolute Batman, issue 1. I have been looking forward to this for a while because Berg has been talking it up so much since he read the retailer PDF that was put out. It's good. Art from Dragotta is excellent. I have one kind of wish, however. Half the time, I kind of wish there were less panels per page, and the other half of the time, it's, even when there is a ton of panels on the page, I would get to one of the fight sequences, it's still effective, it still works, it's just, so here we've got 5 panels, it's kind of the start of a fight here. The thing about Dragotta's art, at least on East of West, and the one he did himself, the 3 or 4 issues oversized, it was weird, sci-fi, kind of, here's what I'm talking about with extreme number of panels per page, but it's a fight sequence and it totally works. And then we get less panels per page over here, and I think his art benefits from more space being given. The book that he did by himself, whose name I can't remember, but it was like a little robot dude versus like different forms of electricity generations. It was weird, but everything was huge in that, and like, you know, his art had space to breathe, and I appreciated it. And this is, I don't know, I don't want to blame Snyder for this. He does at least explain how he gets the axe off of his chest. He has a tool. I think the axe should be slightly bent. It doesn't really appear to be if it conforms to his chest, but whatever, that's fine. I have one issue with this. I think only one, and it's right here at the beginning. It's this picture kind of specifically, and this text box, this word balloon. So they're talking about Poker Night, and this is where they're at. So this is Bruce trying to be talked into Poker Night. They mention Eddie, Harvey, Oz, Selena, and there's a almost reference to getting somebody else, and we've got this picture down there, so I think that's them. I don't like whenever they retcon Bruce and his villains gallery knowing each other when they're growing up. I don't like that. And if you're going to do that, you should at least establish Tommy Elliott early on. And maybe that's who doesn't get named here, but I don't know. I don't like that. Otherwise, the writing is excellent. It's kind of one of the best Snyder things I've read in quite some time. And when Dragotta's art gets room to breathe, it's impeccable. It's amazing. I love it. Yeah, it's good. It might be pick of the week. I don't know, but it's great, and I'll be signing up for it. And they've established this week that they'll be on at least for 24 issues, possibly longer, if people enjoy it. But Dragotta's a master. Not quite lastly, but there is Life issue 2, and this is the Azrael Phillips flip book style. Pros and cons is how they're labeled. So this book starts with, it does tell us. Alright, so this is the con side, because there's a lock there, and the pros side, there's a jewel, because this storyline is some crooks trying to break into the safe that's on a prison planet that no one has visited for hundreds of years, so they expect everyone to be dead. And over here are the prisoners, and they've been infected with something before they were shipped off to this planet that makes them effectively immortal. So everyone is still alive, living out supposedly their extra life sentences, because they all get these extreme life sentence convictions, and sort of the repercussions of all of that. They look a bit different now, so this guy doesn't really have a nose, and if I flip through this, you'd see that everyone is kind of misshapen. But they do talk about that a bit, so I don't know if that's supposed to represent just a bunch of extra lines on his face. They do talk about that because there's 2 suns in the sky. They're getting extra cancer, extra skin cancer. Anyway. So they are cancer-ridden and also immortal, and it's kind of horrifying things that happen to them. But yeah, it's interesting. I like the con side better than the prisoner side. That's all I can say, really. Lastly, I got a couple of trades because I was in the shop last week and I mentioned a couple of things. So, Punisher Barracuda. Berg thought I would enjoy this based on Get Fury that just ended. Garth Ennis. Plastic is one of his current recommendations. There's a sequel series going on right now. I think 2 issues have come out, but this is the initial one. And over here we have Thor, the Ballad of Beta Ray Bill. I have never read it, but again, based on Berg's recommendation, I said get it for me. So I've got all of this to read at some point. I'm not rushing any of this because I still haven't even opened this yet. Anyway, this is everything that I got this week. This first pick of the week, possibly Absolute Batman. On the strength, I'm going to say, of Dragotta, but let's go through it. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to Absolute Batman. There are strong other contenders, so Arcana was great, Public Domain also, but yeah, I'm giving it to, honestly, Ironheart Skullcrusher. Also good. But Absolute Batman gets pick of the week. So, I'm really enjoying the Alfred angle of the city, and yeah, there's surprises as far as where recognizable names have wound up. So Gordon's the only name that I want to say at the moment, but yeah, there are some other recognizable names as well. This is excellent. It was a good week of comics, and just personal stuff, messing with my head as far as other stuff. Anyway, so that is everything that I got this week. I get my books from a local comic shop, and if you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thanks for watching.